view it online.
Right.
And in it, they're talking about their supporters, and then they talk about even their opponents, and then it shows a picture of me.
Congratulations, famous master.
Yeah, I thought that was
that,
so funny.
that's your greatest compliment to your enemies, though, isn't it?
That's what I thought too. I thought that was so funny. I want to order a whole bunch of copies and distribute them to my friends.
It's curious, though. Did they come and ask you whether you were all right with being positioned as the opposition before the
Yeah.
video?
Well, I know the people who did the video, and I think they knew I wouldn't mind at all.
Yeah, they probably anticipated you'd be quite pleased. I think I would be as well. I'd
Yeah,
be proud to be
but
stood
they
in
didn't.
your.
Yeah, they didn't tell me they were doing it that way, but I think they just knew.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's what I was thinking. It's good job for them that you knew you were the opposition, because it would have come as quite a surprise if you didn't, wouldn't
Right.
you?
Yeah.
So,
They all have thinly veiled public fronts. I mean, Bilderberg Group, I don't know if you're familiar with this, they've just set up their own website. So since all that
Oh,
hassle
I
that they
didn't
had,
know.
after the last meeting they had in Spain and the big protests outside, so they came up because of all the attention they're getting and made an official Bilderberg Meetings website. Where
Interesting.
I'm betting they're not putting any of the footage of the actual meeting on.
No, no, and if you log on, you probably get your computer shut down or something.
yeah, I'd at least still go on the no-fly list within the hour, I would have thought so.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah,
the funny thing is that as important as the health issues are, the real immediate danger that we see is to the financial aspect of it. They're going to take down the markets. Almost certainly there will be some sort of an economic catastrophe sometime
yeah,
in the next, this year or next year,
yeah.
and and they'll use it, and they very well will use a war to distract the public's attention from it, because they can't
Just,
hold this jury-rigged financial system together much longer. They can't keep borrowing money to pay back borrowed money for much
They need
longer.
something that they can claim as a smart bomb to
Yes.
reset the default, if you like.
well, the two
Right.
things that
Well,
fit that bill that come straight to mind are the oil spill and the Iran
yes.
situation.
Yes. And there will be a false flag operation
Yeah,
to distract the public's attention and get them to be all patriotic and jump up and down and want to go fight the latest enemy that's
yeah.
created out of thin air.
Of
And
course, it's been working for thousands of years, that whole play, hasn't it? And it never
yeah,
fails. So,
yeah,
I
it's
specifically think of Margaret Thatcher starting the Falklands War to win the ensuing election. But yeah, it
right.
pretty much is the story right the way through, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's a sad thing, but it will probably happen. And one of the things I wrote in one of my articles was when I was in Deauville on the coast of France, I was at an old hotel that had existed before the First World War, and I noticed the front page of a newspaper that was under glass and put on the wall, and it was from 1912. And as I was looking at it, I was thinking, these people in 1912, they had no idea that in 2 years' time, almost
Yeah,
all the men they knew would be wounded or dead on the field of battle in a catastrophic war that would kill millions throughout the world. I mean,
yeah,
literally millions. And here it is, 1912, and science is good, life is good, the arts are good, there are advances every day, quality of life is going up.
yeah.
Finance is going up, and they had no clue 2 years' time what would happen. And I have a sneaking hunch that we're in that same situation. Here it is,
That's
2010, life is good, science advances. I mean, life could be better, but at least there are advances, and yet what's on the horizon?
yeah. The mentality in 1912 would have been that technology was about to conquer all nature's hurdles and whatnot, wasn't it? I
Right.
remember
Yes.
reading about the Titanic and what a shock it was to them that they couldn't build a ship that was unsinkable, apparently,
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, well, I can see the same thing coming here. Whenever the system's about to collapse around them, they usually collapse it themselves under the camouflage of some global catastrophe or war, as you said. So I can just see
Right.
them pull up the same stroke yet again. I worry personally that the flotilla to Gaza could well be the catalyst that will set it off.
Yes. Yeah, it
I've
sure
just
could.
listening that there's a ship's sailed under the flag of Iran. Now, you and I both know what will happen if the Iranian commandos try and land on that particular ship, and I think the Israelis know as well. I fully anticipate a full-on come-as-you kick-off war in Syria as a result.
Try to shoot the Iranians.
Well, the alternative is the Israelis won't try and storm the ship. They'll torpedo or missile it and just deny all knowledge, won't they? But either way, it's going to end up in tears, I believe. But then it's a constant procession of potential World War III catalysts at the moment, isn't it? It's if there isn't an actual one going out, then North Korea can always be dug up.
Right, they'll find something.
Where the oil company has control over the local army there.
Yeah, well, that's the case globally now, isn't it? We all know the corporations run the world. As you were saying earlier on, Scott, I don't think many people now still believe that when they refer to the American president as the most powerful man in the world, I think people take that with a pinch of salt nowadays. Even the unenlightened seem to acknowledge that there are higher forms of control beyond that. And that, I mean, even the people who flatly refuse to believe all the conspiracy theorist stuff, they can't deny that obviously when the prime ministers and presidents are dancing to the tune of the markets, then essentially what they mean is that they're dancing to the tune of whoever holds the purse strings of our countries. And that's become the reality, I think. People know it even if they won't outwardly acknowledge it. So,
but keep in mind, though, I mean, people criticize the corporations, which are artificial constructs of these states, but the corporations really only are able to have coerce power through the power of the government. So what it is, it's this fatal embrace between fascism, between government and the corporations that enables this to happen. You know, no one forces us to go shop at Tesco. You know, we go willingly if we go at all. But you know, if they start limiting our choices, so then we have no choice but to go to a Tesco, then that's a different situation. So we need to cut the powers that the government can dispense. We need to cut the government's powers so that the corporations can't grab control of those reins of power and be powerful themselves. They need to just compete on a level playing field, and then we'll have something that we can truly call, you know, more free.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, you're right. Like the whole thing relies on the government's capacity to enforce the will that's been sent down from upon high. So the way to break the chain essentially is to force our government to represent us like they're supposed to. If they must exist at all, then they can only be able to exist in the spirit to which they were granted our invested sovereignty, let's say. Yeah. If they can't do that, then they're superfluous to requirements as far as I'm concerned. But you are right. I'm not trying to imply that it is just the corporations, insofar as corporations don't have a direct link to exert their authority. They rely on government to do that for them. So
they just seize control of the regulatory agencies and the strings of power. But if the regulators aren't there, you know, because those regulators, they don't exist for the good of the public. They get captured by the very industries they're meant to control or regulate, because who has the greater interest in those regulatory agencies? It's not you or me. It's going to be the company that's put out of business. That's why pharmaceutical companies in the U.S. spend $6 million a day lobbying the Food and Drug Administration and the U.S. government to get their way with the regulators and with laws. $6 million a day. The NHF has a lobbyist, but we certainly don't pay him $6 million a day.
Anyway, Scott, one last piece of optimistic news that we've just got in, which is fantastic, I've heard. Are you aware of the islands of Shetland, Scott?
Yes, they have little tiny ponies.
Yeah, right. Well, they also now have sovereignty over themselves, since we've just been informed that Shetland declared and proclaimed sovereignty yesterday.
Right. That's great. Well, this is all part of decentralization. The more we decentralize power, not centralize it in a superstate like Brussels, but decentralize it like this with the Shetland Proclamation, the better. So it's a step in the right direction.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I sort of visualize it as a tumorous cancer with tentacles all over. So as we unpick all these tentacles, we become free by definition. We only need, I mean, if Shetland can pull this one off, then there's enough space for all the free men in the country to go there. And when people see that we can do it, they'll want to do it themselves. It really is a case of leading. If we must lead at all, then just lead by example. I've stopped trying to convince people of anything now. I'm just doing it. And if they think it looks like a good idea, they will either adopt it themselves or not. It's fine, you know. But go on.
Just one final mention for all the listeners who want to help again with the work Scott's doing at the National Health Federation. Is to log onto the website I guess in your respective country, or just go to the main website and volunteer your services to really help out what's going on here.
We know we've got people with talents and skills out there that are just basically looking for something that they can do that means they're doing something. So crack on with that. Get in touch with NHF and get involved. I'm sure there's loads of things that need doing. Just find something that you can do and contribute. It's as simple as that, Scott.
Thanks.
Right, well, I think that leads us neatly into 11:30, so I think we're going to finish off with a song now. I'd like to say massive thanks to Scott Tibbs for sparing us this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure, Scott, and I know I've learned a lot. I know Dean's enjoyed it as well.
Very informative.
And she's all smiles, so it must have been good. I'm sure we'd love to have you on again at some point in the future, Scott. And
thank you. I'd love to.
And just before we wind up, if there's anything that you need to get out in an absolute hurry, I'm sure you can rely on Northeast Truth Network and internet and whatnot to spread the word. So consider it an open invitation on that, Scott. Angela's nodding her assent, so we're all right with that. I'm not going to get another thick here. So I'd like to thank Scott and Dean and Ange. I've been Simon Wood. Oh, yeah, and congratulations again to Steve and Lisa. Try and get out of bed sometimes. Okay? Vin, you can line us our last song up now. And thank you again, Vin, for facilitating this for us and contributing your time.
Thanks.
N.E.T.Radio av en hoffskidom This my heart alone.